A lot of people dream about becoming a pilot, but few actually make it happen. And I genuinely want to help you become one of those. I've been a pilot for 19 years and I've learned all of these lessons the hard way. So if I was serious about becoming a pilot this year, this is the process I would follow, and the order really matters. Step 0, the first thing you have to understand is that if you want to become a pilot, you have to make it happen. Like, no one is going to do this for you. It's not something that happens to you. It's something that you cause to happen. I think a lot of times we get stuck in the, oh, that would be really cool one day type thing. And then what happens? You know what happens. Nothing happens. Nothing happens unless we take extreme ownership of wanting to accomplish this goal. So quick takeaway is to write on a sticky note, becoming a pilot won't happen unless I make it happen. To really drill that into your brain and put that on your computer, your bathroom mirror, just somewhere you will see it regularly. Because there's a lot involved. Becoming a pilot really comes down to a few key milestones though. You have to take what's called ground school to learn the book knowledge and pass a written test. And then you take flying lessons to learn how to fly the actual airplane. And then at the end of all of that, you take what's referred to as your check ride, which is basically your final test that consists of an oral exam and a flight exam. So between ground school and flying lessons, there is a lot to do. And I learned this point the hard way. My commercial training, I quit more than once because life just got in the way. I kind of did it here and there, and it's not a good strategy. But the third time, my wife really encouraged me just to let my life kind of revolve around this. Like several nights a week after the kids went to bed, I was studying. Several mornings a week, I was going to the airplane and doing early morning flight lessons. It's basically a dedicated sprint. And this is the thing that actually got me across the finish line and kept life from getting in the way. It's a huge thing you'll hear in flight training. People say, life got in the way. Dedicated sprint is the antidote to that, I promise. And in the very first part of the dedicated sprint, I would start on your medical exam. To be a private pilot, you'll need what's called a third-class medical exam from an AME, or an aviation medical examiner. And if you're on any medications or have any medical history that you're concerned about, I would look up an AME in your area, contact them, see if they'll just do a phone consult with you before you actually go take the exam. That way you can make sure that you're gonna have a pathway to getting your medical, or if there's certain paperwork that you're gonna need to gather and go through and stuff, you can actually show up to your exam with that in hand so that you don't experience any unforeseen delays. This is a really important thing, in my opinion, to just knock out in the beginning so you're not worried about it. Next, I would set a target date that you are going to start ground school and flight school. Just make this the same day, keep it simple. And then I would write your friend a check for an uncomfortable amount of money and say, if I don't start on that day, you cash the check. Because here's the thing, there is an infinite amount of research you could do, but the important thing is moving from research mode to action. And more than likely, if you don't have a target date set of like, okay, this day I'm starting, you're just gonna keep researching because it's comfortable. And what you're actually doing is procrastinating. And I can say that because I do it all the time. You probably do that all the time. So get a date, get some stakes on there through, writing your friend a check for a large amount of money, and force yourself to start. Now, once you have that date set, now it's time to pick out the ground school. It's probably gonna be an online ground school you're gonna go to. And then you also need to pick out your flight school. And this is so important. For both of these things, I want you to set a 1-hour timer, okay? For ground school, there's a bunch of different online providers you can choose. They're all pretty similar. They have different pros and cons, but set a timer for 1 hour, do as much research as you want, read all the Reddit forums you want. But at the end of that hour, you are going to buy one and commit to it. Because the thing is, like, it's not irreversible. If you don't like it, okay, you're out, some money, but you can go get a different one if you want to. So like, getting the exact perfect ground school is not gonna be the thing that makes you become a pilot this year. Actually starting on it is the thing that will help you accomplish your goal. And so we have to optimize for that. Set a timer. And then for flight school, do the exact same thing. Set a timer. You might need more than an hour depending on how many you're evaluating, and you might need to make some phone calls. Just ask ChatGPT or Google, what questions should I ask a new flight school? There's gonna be plenty of helpful information online. The point is you want to really err towards momentum here. Like, don't be reckless about it, but this isn't an irreversible decision. If you have two that you really like, go take a discovery flight at each of those. Just kind of vibe check the place, honestly. You can do that, but again, you want to all optimize for that target date that you are going to get started. Now, with both the ground school and flight school selected, I would get your first lesson at the flight school on the calendar before starting ground school. And this is really important because watching video courses on ground school is going to feel like progress. It is progress, but if you're not careful, you can get stuck in this, it's more research, right? It's like, I'm just learning, but I don't have anything actually on the calendar. I don't have any flights scheduled, but I'm just kind of dabbling with ground school. Like, you could get very well stuck in this mode. And for the person that says, well, I want to knock out all my ground school and my written before I actually go to flight school. I mean, you can do it that way, but one, that's definitely not required. And two, you're probably going to need some real world experience to make the book knowledge really come to life and actually stick. So I wouldn't do it that way. I would start them at the same time, honestly. So get that first lesson on the calendar, then start ground school. Now, to make this video easier to implement, I also have all of the points from this video in a downloadable PDF. It's totally free. You can grab it over at airplaneacademy.com/process, or you can also scan the QR code on the screen and it'll take you there. The link is also down in the description. Now, when it comes to studying your ground school material, first, highly encourage you to block this off on your calendar. I always studied at night, but do whatever works for you. Just get it on the calendar and even put it on your family calendar if you have one of those. So that way people know you have plans at night, which is studying. Just get it on the calendar. You're probably gonna be taking ground school through some video format online. And here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna watch the first few and be like, oh, that makes sense. That's not too hard to remember, because none of the concepts are that hard. Some are harder than others. But you're gonna realize that really it's the volume of information that is most challenging in aviation. And there's just no way you're gonna have everything memorized through watching those videos once or twice. And so I cannot emphasize this enough. You need to take your own notes. Figure out if you want pen and paper. I like Google Docs because it's easier to iterate and stuff, but take notes of each video lesson because you are going to need to create a document that you can review over and over, because it's going to take several reps, maybe many reps on some concepts to actually commit it to memory and become fluent in this information. So you got to take notes. The other thing is, if you really want to level up your notes, try to write questions at the top of your notes. So if you're saying, okay, here are, Class D weather minimums or whatever, VFR weather minimums, then write a question. What are Class D VFR weather minimums? Because then when you're studying, you can see the question, stop looking at your notes, try to answer it, and then go read the answer. And this is way different than just cramming all of your notes, because this forces what's called active recall. And active recall is one of the best ways, is one of the best proven ways to actually commit things to memory. And that's why flashcards work so well, assuming that you actually try to answer the question first. So if you just read the front, don't even attempt to answer the question, turn it over and then read the back, you're basically just reading a textbook. It's just coming in 300 separate pages or whatever. So don't do that. Try to do anything you can to force active recall by trying to answer the question first before you read the correct answer. And if you don't want to make your own flashcards, I did want to let you know that I do offer a set that has over 350 cards for private pilots. They're great for studying for your written test, your check ride, and then even the flight reviews that you'll be required to take after you become a pilot. They're reviewed and approved by a panel of flight instructors, and as of this filming, over 7,000 pilots use them, and they've gotten hundreds of 5-star reviews. No pressure to buy them. I just wanted you to know they exist, and hopefully they can help you at some point in your flying journey. You can learn more over at airplaneacademy.com/flashcards, or scan the QR code on the screen, or the link is also down in the description. Now, once you've gotten through all of ground school, you'll start taking practice written tests online before the real one. And this will be super helpful. Keep a running log of any question you have gotten wrong on a practice test and add it into a Google Doc or just somewhere. Keep a running total of it. Go take another practice test, log anything you've gotten wrong, repeat the process, because you're going to have this gold mine of stuff that just needs more brush up. It's going to be really, really helpful to you. And then as you are taking those practice tests, I would not bother taking your real test until you're consistently getting like above 95s on those practice tests. And here is why. While a passing grade is 70 on the written exam, anything you miss, they have to ask you about during your oral exam, during your check ride at the very end. And so you literally bring a printout of, here, I got a 75, and then here are all the codes of things I missed, and they tack that onto your oral, and they ask you about that stuff. So there's no reason to just invite extra scrutiny during that oral exam. So don't aim to pass, aim to get a 100. Now for flight training, there's something you'll face early on that could make you quit if you're not expecting it. While flight training is so fun because you're learning how to fly a freaking airplane, it's also really overwhelming at first because there is just a lot happening and so much is just net new. but look at me. I promise that it gets easier. That early overwhelm in the cockpit will subside. I promise. There's a lot of people flying airplanes, like you will get it. I promise. And to help get you through that, there's one word I want you to focus on, and that's the word yet. Anytime that you are overwhelmed in the cockpit or you're like, man, I don't understand what all these gauges mean yet, you start listening to air traffic control, you're like, man, I'm not good. I'm not confident in talking to air traffic control yet. That is going to completely reframe that early overwhelm and encourage yourself that you can and will get through this if you stick with it. So yet is your best friend. And then after every lesson, never ever leave the flight school without having the next lesson on the calendar. Again, this isn't irreversible, like you can change the date if you need to, but just get something on the calendar to keep it moving. And I would personally aim to fly at least once a week. I know that can be a lot to fit into your schedule if it's not your full-time thing, but that's the point of the dedicated sprint, right? You don't have to do this forever. You just have to do this long enough to get it done. And if you can be studying several nights a week, 3+ nights a week or mornings or whenever, that will help keep your momentum going as well. So that most days of the week, something is happening towards getting your pilot's license. This next step, not enough people do, and it really can be a game changer. It's really simple. Just find one person in your flight school, hopefully it's your instructor, but even if it's a fellow student, to check in with you weekly. You can call it accountability if you want, you can call it friendly motivation, whatever, but just ask them, hey, on Wednesdays or whatever, could you just call me and ask me if I studied this last week and when my next flight lesson is? Even if you just start there and okay, someone's gonna check in with me about this, or I can tell them, hey, I'm really stuck on this lesson or this concept in ground school or whatever. Like, have someone you can go to. Don't do it alone. And I'll bet if you ask someone at a flight school to do this with you, they're gonna be more than happy to, and they'll probably be like, yeah, can you do that for me too? I could use the accountability. So the big thing here is just don't do it alone, because it's really important to not be alone when you reach these 2 points in particular that I think will be hard in your training. It was for me, and it's really important to expect these. First is when you're just starting out and you feel like you're in over your head and you're like, oh man, can I actually do this? I promise you can if you'll stick with it and use the word yet. The second hard part of your training will probably be right in the middle, when you've made progress, but now you're tired and you have an appreciation for how much you have left, and you can really stop your momentum here. And this is called the valley of despair. But this is the perfect time for that accountability partner to encourage you through it. And more than anything, if you expect these 2 hard parts in the first place, you'll be ready for them. You won't be rattled by them, and you can push through it. But just remember, a lot of people have done this, right? Like, it doesn't, that tells me it does not take an uncommon superhuman skill, strength, or talent to be able to do it. It really just takes hard work and dedication, which you can control directly. And so if you want to implement the things in this video, remember there's a free PDF over at airplaneacademy.com/process to help you put this into action. But if you want the full step-by-step process with all the nitty-gritty of how to become a pilot, I also put that together in the video on the screen. So I will see you there.